Welcome back, everybody. Captain Gino here. We're on the beautiful Harris Chain of Lakes, filming a series trying to break down this entire body of water. It is a vast system of water here between the rivers and lakes and residential canals. There's a lot to cover. Today we're in the marsh. You can find this marsh on the northeast corner of Lake Griffen. These are man-made marshes, are accessible by boat, and they're allowed in most tournaments. They're basically 4 to 6 foot deep flats that have been closed off with levees. They're connected through Haines Creek and the north end here, northeastern corner of Lake Griffen. Crystal clear water filled with hydrilla. It can seem overwhelming because you get in here and you look around and there's just hundreds of acres of topped out hydrilla and long lines of cattails. Look at it like this. When you see the lines of cattails, those are limestone levees. They're hard rock levees. They're great during the spawn. They typically have boating lanes down the edge. The main flats, they consist of little peaks and valleys, basically where these front end loaders or whatever the equipment came through and dug the dirt out. So it'll kind of just be little ridges, very small changes, and that's going to be just hydrilla, coontail moss, hyacinth, floating islands, cattails, sparse brush here and there, but basically the same thing all the way around. We're going to try and break it down today, get you a couple patterns you can go with, maybe talk about a couple more patterns that would work throughout the year. So that way next time you're here on the chain, you can stop in here and visit. It's a beautiful fishery. It's something completely different than you're used to seeing on the chain. You can have a lot of fun in here and catch some giants. Y'all stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming. Oh, we got, oh, giant. Yep. Camera. Oh, we got camera on? I'll take, no, it's not that big. Just violet. Whew, ain't nothing like it. That fish seemed like it was 10 pounds and it came and blew up on this thing here. Just working a walking bait, and topwater is one of the best ways to catch them back in this marsh here. It can be one of the best places you've ever fished in your life, and it can be one of the toughest places you've ever fished in your life. It really depends on the conditions. It's crystal clear water, averaged up to 4 feet, and that topwater just seems to generate big bites. This one wasn't big. I thought it was at first when it flew up on it, but there's some fish moving around. We got a few minutes, small window here. Hopefully we can get a couple of big ones for you in the boat real quick. All right, guys, so when you enter the marsh, if you've never been in here before, it can seem overwhelming. There's vast areas, these flat, seemingly completely flat areas with hydrilla that seems to be topped out everywhere. And then you'll see some cattails and stuff throughout. If you go back on some of the maps back to the 90s before this place was filled up, or right when it was about to be filled up, you'll see that there's levees that kind of crisscross this particular marsh. And then the flats are actually kind of ditches. It kind of comes up and down. But we're just gonna move through these flats out here and focus on the holes in the hydrilla. And that's it. That's how we're catching them. That's all you have to do if you're moving on the flat. Now, come time during the spawn, I like to focus on the levees. The levees your bass tend to spawn on, they're hard limestone levees. So the bass will be spawned all down the edges, and there's like ditches that kind of run down the edges. You can focus on stage and fish in those areas. But outside of the spawn, really these flats out here are where it's at. And it's gonna bounce between 4 and 6 foot of water. You just gotta look for the holes in the hydrilla, healthy hydrilla. Bait and definitely some ripple will do you a huge favor. When it's flat out here, it's absolutely miserable. When you got some ripple on the water, it can be one of the best places you've ever fished. So we're gonna move around this flat a little bit. Seems like we got some bait moving around in here. We got a little bit of wind. We got some good cloud cover. So we should have us a good 30 minutes or so more of this topwater bite. We'll see if we can get on another one for you. Got him. Pieced him up. Nice one. Woo! Sucker's getting down that drilla. Oh, little grass lizard. All right, y'all, it's fall. We're on the beautiful Harris Chain of Lakes. We're sitting in the marsh here. We're gonna try and put together a couple patterns today. One of my favorite ways to catch them in here is topwater. They'll eat a walk-in style bait. Today we're throwing a little Sammy, a little smaller size bait. There's a ton of little small bait around the marsh right now. We got some overcast conditions. This clear color works really well in here, but they'll eat a single prop bait, a double prop bait. They'll eat frogs. Anything you wanna throw up top that you're confident in is a good way to catch them in here. As soon as that sun comes up, it becomes real tough to catch them like that. At that point in time, it's really good to switch to like a small swim bait, swimming a worm, a fluke if it's super duper calm, a floating worm, or a swim bait or glide bait, something like that.
There we go. Oh, that's a nice one.
Giant?
Left hand. Oh gosh, oh gosh.
Is it a giant?
It's a nice one.
That's 10 pound test. Oh my God, dude, 10 pound test in the hydrilla.
He choked it. Oh.
Easy with him, don't horse him.
Okay. He's Calvin. Left-handed. Can I do it? Oh.
Don't flip him, do not flip him. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, he flipped.
I slow flipped him.
Oh my god. On 10-pound test. Dudes.
Well, y'all, we're on to pattern number 2. Throw a chatterbait.
All right, guys, so another way to catch them in the marsh is chatterbait. Tyler's foaming at the mouth back there. He had to jump up here and grab a hold of this chatterbait, but when you have a little bit of ripple on the marsh, sometimes even when it's a little bit too rough for topwater, chatterbait's a good option. Being that it's early in the year, it's fall right now, we're throwing a little bit stealthier version. So it's got a clear blade on it, a vibrating jig with a very small trailer, very small profile, small presentation. There's a ton of small bait in the water. That's why we're focused on smaller baits. You know, guys they'll miss this transition in here, and everybody's throwing big baits, big baits, big baits. The fishing gets tough and kind of weird, and these fish start to group back together, and the lakes start to turn over because you have that cooler nights. It's been in the 70s every night. You have that cooler top layer, cause these fish to jump into that transition period, that fall mode, and they start to group back up. Tyler literally dropped the camera, grabbed the chatterbait, came up here, and was just like bink, 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 one after another. But we're gonna keep moving through here. The topwater bites slow down a little bit, which tends to happen when the sun starts to come up. You might have maybe get another bite or two out of it. I'm gonna throw it around a little bit more. And we're gonna move on to another type of search bait. And these fish are on the move. They're hunting for bait. They're fattening up. They're getting ready for spawn. They're getting ready for the winter. So we're gonna just throw moving baits and try and find these fish because they're constantly on the move. You can't fall in love with an area. They could be in that area one day and then in another area the next. It's wherever that bait is, that's where the fish are gonna be. So we're gonna move around the marsh a little bit more, see if we can catch 1 or 2 more fish for you and help you out next time you're out here on the water.
Oh, you got him? Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
Whew. Sun started getting high. We missed fish after fish after fish on topwater. Some big ones too, man, which is unfortunate. Picked up a worm and got bit back-to-back casts. And that's typical in here. You know, once they start to, the sun starts to get up, you really got to start changing directions. It's crystal clear. It's only like 4 to 6 foot deep. So a worm is a really good answer. If you have wind and ripple, chatterbait's a great answer. If it's really flat, a fluke is great. Small swim baits, 3.75 to 4.75, I do extremely well. Dude, I let it sit over there. As soon as it started to come down, boom, I got to find that hole again. I've lost it. Yeah, these fish are definitely grouped up right now though. A little bit of difference in temperature. It's almost not noticeable because it's still 85, 90 degrees during the daytime. But those cooler nights really make a massive difference in these lakes, and everything changes. The way the fish are positioned, what they're focused on, the size of the bait they're focused on, and then the just volume of fish that are together. You know, when they first start getting offshore, they're all grouped together real good, but come like late June, July, they start to get busted up. They're getting hammered all the time. The water starts to get so hot, you know, you have a thermocline develops on the lakes, and the fish get suspended and spread out and beat down and tough. And you know, by August, September, forget it. It's really, you start to see the tournaments have this big disparity in bags. You know, 1 or 2 guys got them, the rest is just 10, 11 pounds, 12 pounds. You start seeing these crazy numbers winning these tournaments, super low bags. Then all of a sudden, these little bit cooler nights trigger something in these fish, and they start to feed up, and they're preparing themselves to spawn, and they're preparing themselves to get through winter as well here in Florida. And it just, you can miss it. It happens fast. It only lasts for a couple weeks, but it's a lot of fun if you can catch on. Oh, there it is. I let it drop. I can catch up to them. Holy cow. Fastest time of year. You can't keep up. They got a little oxygen, they're trying to run. So we noticed that like every hole we go into, there's fish sitting in that hole. Bluegills, bass, shad, everything. There'll be 30, 40 fish in a 10-foot diameter hole. I've been swimming the worm, not getting bit, so I just let it fall in that hole. First cast, I let it fall in the hole, I got smoked. I could barely keep up with the fish. All right, guys, so when you're out here fishing the marsh, you gotta really look at the situation that you're in to know where you're gonna go. I'd say if it's during the spawn, I'd say you wanna focus on the levees just because those are good spawning areas. The fish tend to stage nearby. Outside of that, the flats are where it's at. You can choose to punch the hydrilla mats. You know, a Gambler Why Not works really good. Bitter's Bat works really good. Anything kind of bluegilly looking, black blue tends to work really good. Flipping these hydrilla mats in here. You can flip the cattails as well. I tend to do better flipping the hydrilla mats if that's what you're looking to do punch wise. Now, if it's a spawn, again, you're gonna flip and pitch the levees. For moving baits, you know, good old Florida swim bait, AKA the speed worm or vibe tail. pegged like a 3/16 ounce weight, 1/8 ounce weight works wonders in here. Small or big, depends on the season. Great way to catch them. When it gets real calm like this, a fluke, a weightless sinker works really well. It becomes really hard when you get high skies and no clouds. It becomes really hard to catch these fish on moving baits. It's just really, really difficult. Swim baits work good, jerk baits work good, glide baits work good, chatterbaits work good. It just depends on the conditions. You pick your poison. Swim jigs are excellent. Smaller profile swim jigs, if you're gonna throw a swim jig, typically for me, tends to do better. If you've never, focused on a hydrilla, focus on the holes in the hydrilla, the points, just like any type of visible cover. These fish are gonna wanna set up in the same areas. All right, guys, we got a lot of water to cover. Hopefully the information that we gave you today helps you out. If you're into this type of content and you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe. If you want a more in-depth look, breakdowns of the lures we're using, presentations, locations, waypoints, things like that, please visit Fishonology. Check it out. It's free for all members. This entire series plus a vast library of lessons and breakdowns of different lures, locations, waypoints. I'm telling you, this system, if you're fishing the chain, if you're new to the chain and you don't have it, you're missing out. Sign up. It's only $20 a month for you guys. It would help us and it's going to help you a ton. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Till next time, everybody, tight lines.